Hello folks, and welcome back / welcome to this Booktube channel that I've started. I posted my first video last week and I am rolling on through and posting my next video this week. So I wanted to do kind of like an intro to Booktube style video where I kind of talk about myself, how I got into reading, some of my favorite things, and a little stuff about me personally outside of the world of books. So that is what we're doing today. Now I went online and I searched for different tags for people to kind of follow as they're introducing themselves on the book sphere, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or whatever. So I found Renee Cheeseman.com. I will put it down below. And she had a whole bunch of really great questions that I just kind of like pulled from. I tweaked some of them. A couple of the questions were a little negative for me, meaning just like, what author do you really hate kind of stuff, and like I don't feel like answering that because I choose to be as positive as possible, and if I don't like the author I'm not going to go out there spouting into the universe how I don't like them. So there's going to be just some mild adjustments to some of those questions, which is exciting for me, and yeah, we'll get started. So question number 1 is what/who got you into reading? That one's easy. My parents, they were amazing when we were growing up. I have 2 sisters. I'm the middle child, right in the middle. They used to sit us down every single night and they would read us a bedtime story. And as we got older, the stories got more intricate and more complicated, and they were really into literacy at a young age, which I really appreciate because now reading is a huge part of my day-to-day. It allows me to kind of escape, especially in today's day and age. It's a little bit of escapism, but it also teaches me a whole bunch of different things that I wouldn't learn in any other circumstance. It teaches me about racial issues, it teaches me about gender issues, it teaches me about romance and all sorts of things and everything in the sphere in between. So I really love that about reading. You can learn so much and you can get a glimpse of a different world that you don't particularly live in, and I really love that my parents did that for us as kids. So question number 2 on my list is, what is your first favorite book? So when your first reading experience, what is that one book that really stuck out to you? I still have a copy of my first favorite book. This is the same book that I read when I was a kid, this very copy here. It's like yellowing and browning over time. It's called The Two Princesses of Bamar. It's by the same author that wrote Ella Enchanted. This book, it had me. It was so good. I couldn't put it down. I read it like 3 times in a row, and even then I was a really fast reader, so this just like stole my heart. And it's a story of 2 sisters. One is like the strong sister and one is the not so strong sister, and there's like an illness that spreads through their kingdom, and her sister gets the illness, and she, the one main character, has to go through and try to find the cure for her sister, and nobody's has ever seen the cure before. Hundreds of people have died from it, and it's a wonderful story. Like I said, I have 2 sisters, so this really hit me in the feels. There's a question later on about crying in books, and like bawled my eyes out. Always the empath. I always put myself into other people's positions, and this, whew, just slaughtered me. So my current favorite book, this one's hard because I have so many. I'm going to go pull some of them and show them to you right now. So I've picked my stack of books of some of my favorite books. Some of them are new favorites and they might evolve over time, but some of them are like tested and true favorites. So one of my first favorites that is fairly new is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This took me a little while to get through. It's a little bit of a slower burn. It's very character driven, but I was so enamored by her character. She's such a strong female lead. She's just like independent, and she knows exactly what she wants, even if she doesn't seem to know what she wants. And I just really admire the character. The character building was so good. I loved the scenes where she was finally seen for the first time in a long time. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that idea where they're going through their life, but they feel like no one actually sees them for who they are, and I feel like this was almost a metaphor for that, and I really enjoyed this book. It got a little water damaged. I had it on my bedside table, and my cats are nuts, so my water dropped on it, and it was kind of devastating. But the book itself is in good tact. It's just the dust cover that got damaged, but this was a fantastic book. My next favorite is City of the Lost by Kelly Armstrong. Now, this is a whole series. There's like 4 or 5 different books in this series now. I've read or listened to them all. But this one is kind of my favorite because it is the first book that delves into the world with these specific characters. The lead, Casey, in this book is so badass. She's a detective and she goes to this city that's way up north. It's not the Yukon. I think it's just like way up north, and she is trying to solve a murder mystery, and it's gripping. I love the love interest in this story. It's just a great story, and I just really enjoyed the rugged outdoorsy nature of the character, really getting on in nature. I live in the middle of nowhere in the country, so I really related to the drive for those characters to be out in the wild that way. I love Kelly Armstrong's writing. She makes it so that you can get through the book like that. Like, you just don't want to put it down. Highly recommend for people who like mysteries, who like that rugged outdoorsy kind of like vibe in a book, and that love strong female character. Next up is a young adult trilogy that I've never seen really talked about on Booktube, and it's Into the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. Now, I feel like if I was to start this series now as someone in my 30s, it might hit a little bit differently, but I read this earlier in like probably my early 20s, and I just loved this book so much. It's like a coming of age story for the main character. I love her love interest. They're both... The thing I like a lot about this series is they're both really strong characters, but they don't depend on each other. They're not like the Bella Edward where they're like, oh, if I die, you die, and we can't live without each other. They're really strong, and they're both fighting their own battles, but then they complement each other, and that's the kind of relationship that I really like to see in young adult novels, because I don't personally believe that you should meet someone and then become that person. I really think that they did it right in the relationship in this book, and plus the story is really good. So if you're looking for a good YA series that you haven't read before, haven't really heard of, I highly suggest picking this one up and trying it out. My next book I just finished reading last week. It's this bad boy, ACOTAR, that all of the book people say, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Now, this was like Harlequin romance meets fantasy, and I'm not mad about it. Like, it was fun to read. Some of it was really easy to anticipate, and it was just fun. I really enjoyed this. I ordered the second book because I can't wait to get through the series to see what else happens, because I'm the kind of person who really enjoys a good, when people ruin the story, you know, the word's not coming to my mouth right away, but like when someone tells you the ending and ruins it for you, I love that, because I kind of like to know what happens. So I've gone through, spoilers, that's the word I'm looking for, spoilers. I've gone through and I've found spoilers for the future books, and I'm so excited about them. So I can't wait to get into the rest of the series in this one. I know I'm going to just zoom through them, and I'll likely have to read them a second time, because sometimes I get to reading so quickly that I don't get all the subtle nuances in the books, because I'm so excited to figure out what happens. So this one is definitely a current favorite. I really enjoyed this book. I know this question only asked for one favorite, but like I can't do just one, so my final one that I put on the list is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. My sister recommended this book to me. She's listened to it multiple times on Audible. She's an Audible kind of girl. She drives a lot for her work, so she just plugs in the books and she listens to them. And there's a reason why she really enjoyed this book. Like I said earlier, I'm someone who was born and raised in the country, so the imagery that is put forward in this book about the marshlands that she lives in, man, it sung the song of my people, man. It was so beautiful, and the character building in this was really good, and there's a mystery that goes along with it, and I really enjoyed how it went forward and backward in time, and then it met in the middle, kind of, or in the present day, and it was just such a lovely book. I'm definitely going to be reading this again. I went and got the deluxe edition. I saw it at Indigo, and I was like, I can't not buy this. It's so beautiful. It's got colored, like, orange titles on the chapter markers, and like each different part of the book like, this is gorgeous. you know? So I love this book, and I really, really can't wait to read it again. Probably not until the new year, because I have a lot of books on my TBR, but this is definitely going to be one of those books that I come back to over and over and just kind of like rediscover it. I really do find that the first time you read it, you learn about the book and the story and the characters, but the second and third time you read something, you pick up more and more from the book each time, just kind of like movies or whatever else. So I'm excited to get back to this one. Alright, so I know I talked about like not putting negative questions on here, but I felt like this one was appropriate because everybody's got books that they love and everybody has books that they really don't love. So the one book that I did not finish, could not finish, returned on Audible actually because I hated it, was How to Win Friends and, not Alienate People, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Got those two titles mixed up. It's so easy to do that. So the reason why I really didn't like this book is it goes through all of these ideas on how to influence people and be more affluent and be able to like take yourself and your business and whatever to the next level. I'm a business owner, so I really like doing personal development stuff like that. But I just found that it was too dated for what I was looking for in personal development. And there was this one circumstance where the writer equated a woman to a dog, and that's the moment I was like, yeah, no, I can't do this anymore. It was something about obedience and making your wife obedient. We're not built, ladies, to be obedient. We're built to be our own people. So that was a no-fly zone for me. So I returned it, and I will never read it again. There are so many personal development books out there and public speakers and other influential humans that I can relate to. So for me, that was a huge no-fly zone. Question 5. So the author that I have the most of, and that is hands down Kelly Armstrong. Now, I really love her writing. She is a local author. She actually lives in Ontario as well. I live in Ontario, Canada, and so does she. I met her once at a book signing, which was really cool. But this entire shelf, all of that is Kelly Armstrong. Now, there's quite a few books I haven't read. I recently thrifted her Bitten series, and I've only read like the first 3 books, I think, in the series, but I really love the characters and I really want to go forward and read all of them. It's going to be an investment in time though. I might tackle that in the new year because I've got a long like TBR list, and I have a goal of reading so many books for next year, so that would be a really great way to do it. They're not super long books and the stories are really interesting, so you just keep going and going. So that would be a good way to meet that goal. But I love the way that she crafts her characters. I love the way that she crafts her relationships. She's got like a gift for storytelling, and for me, she personally resonates with me, so I have a ton of her books. Number 6 is popular books you hate. So this might be unfair of me, but I have never read, nor will I likely ever read, the 50 Shades of Grey series. It just doesn't appeal to me in any which way, shape, or form. Nothing about the plot line. I've watched a couple of the movies, and it's just the relationship between them just seems like it's not at all interesting to me. So I guess it's not that I hate it. It's more so that it's a really popular series that I have absolutely no interest in. Question number 7 is, how many books per month do you read? So it really depends. My life is kind of like this when it comes to being busy and having more time to do things like reading. Like I said before, I'm a business owner, and right now, being in the midst of COVID and kind of being in the December period, it's kind of a down season for us, so I'm able to read like 6 to 10 books a month right now. But in January especially, and certain months in the summertime, it's like half of that, even less. Most of the time in those months I'm listening to Audible because I just can't physically sit down and read a book. I just don't have time to. So it really fluctuates. So I would say average maybe 4 to 5. Number 8 is, how do I get through a reading slump? Now, I hear this term all the time going through Booktube and people talking about how they have a slump and they're not reading a lot, but I really feel like you listen to what your mind and your gut is telling you in terms of whether you should be reading or shouldn't be reading. If you don't feel like you're in the mood to read, don't read. Go out, exercise, go on a hike, hang out with friends, spend time doing what sets your soul on fire, because in all reality, we only get one shot at the can in this life, and if you don't feel like reading, nobody's forcing you to. You shouldn't feel like anybody's forcing you to, whether you're someone who's a really big name or face in this community or not, you should never feel the pressure to do something when you just genuinely don't want to. So for me, I just let it ride out, maybe pick up some smaller books or books that I know that I really love and start them up again, but I'm never going to force myself to do something that I'm really not interested in doing. It's, for me, everything in my life, whether it's reading or working out or painting, because I'm an artist, it comes in waves, you know, like sometimes I'm really, really interested and I'm all about it, and then it recedes, and then another wave comes up and something else is really like catching my interest, and I let it flow, because that's just how I feel life should be. It might be different for you, and that's totally cool, but that's how I feel. Number 9 is my favorite genre. So I think right now, at least, my favorite genre is fantasy. I'm really enjoying the escapism and just kind of feeling human emotion, but in a place that is so far gone from what is our reality. I've been really enjoying that. I really like thrillers or like murder mysteries. I think that's a lot of fun too. What else do I love? I love dystopian, I love young adult novels in general. They're just easy to read, they're really fast paced, I really, really enjoy reading those. So all along that kind of sphere of things I enjoy. Following up to that, my least favorite genre is likely like contemporary romance. There's a lot of contemporary books out there that are highly acclaimed and people really, really love them, but I find if I'm not listening to them, I can't get through them. It's too slow for me. I can't relate to the characters. So if there are specific books that sound really interesting, but I know that it's like a contemporary style book, or even some of the classics, I will listen to them instead of reading them, because I know that I'll be able to ingest the story in a way that is much more palatable, in a way that I know that I'm going to be more interested in. So number 11 is how many bookshelves do I own? So I have the one that's behind me. This is from IKEA. It's actually an entertainment center. My TV's in the middle, and I have another shelf just like this. I will input a video of it right over there. And just 2 for now. I'm getting a 3rd one for Christmas, which I'm really excited about, which is pretty much the same thing as this, except it's dark blue, and instead of having these drawers in the back, it goes all the way to the floor. So that's all of my bookshelves for now. I don't feel like I need to buy and have every single book that ever existed in the universe. I'm gonna buy and keep the books that I really, really love. And my collection has been growing lately because I've been reading more lately, and I'm a physical book kind of person, so if I really love that book, I have to have that physical copy, but I'm not about to go and buy a whole wall of bookshelves right now, at least, because I just don't have anything to fill it, and I'm not about to go out and buy like hundreds and hundreds of books to get that aesthetic, although I love that aesthetic. I'm just not there yet. Number 12, what is my Goodreads goal for 2021? So I'm going to set myself a goal of 80 books. That could be a little bit steep for me because like I said before, I go through months where I'm a little bit busy and I don't have a lot of time to read, so we'll see how that goes. But I've never actually set myself a reading goal before, and I haven't ever kept track of how many books in a year that I've read. So this is baptism by fire. We're going to figure out if it's going to work or not. I love having specific goals because I'm very competitive, and if I have a goal, I really want to smash the crap out of it. So, fingers crossed, let's see how it goes. Number 13 is my favorite characters. Now I wrote them down in a book down here, so I'm going to be looking down to look at them because there's too many, obviously. So, Casey from City of the Lost. Like I said before, I really love her character. She's just super badass. She's intelligent, she's worldly, she loves outdoors and nature. There's nothing I don't really love about her character. Yeah, she's great. The second one, I really love the character of Addie LaRue in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, obviously. She is strong, she's stubborn, she's persistent, and I really love that she is that strong female character in this book, and there's all of these influences, specifically Luke or Luce. I'm not quite sure how she pronounces it in the book, but he's constantly on her, that male-dominating influence that's like, I'm gonna break you, and she just crosses her arms and she's like, you're absolutely not gonna break me, even though inside she feels like she might be broken. So I really love that about her character. She's just persistent. Mwah, the best. Next character I really like is June from the Legends series by Mary Lou. She's fantastic. I really love that she's a fighter, she's intelligent, she's like a higher up in this army, and she's a rebel, and I just really love that kind of character. I think we're seeing a trend here. I tend towards these like strong female leads. I think that they're so much fun. They give, specifically in the YA genre, like young women something to look up to and be like, I don't just have to be pretty and subservient, like I can be strong and I can like fight my own battles and be an independent human. I really like that about June. That kind of like encapsulates June. Another character I really enjoyed was Tana. Yeah, Tana from The Coldest Girl in Cold Town. She is, again, like just a strong character. She goes through the wildest adventure, and she has this like sidekick people that come with her on the way, but she pushes through and ends up being like this super badass character. I really love Holly Black's writing. She's so much fun. And this is, I haven't read her Wicked Prince or Wicked King series yet. That's definitely on my TBR, but I really enjoyed this standalone book. So yeah, she was a great character for me. Two more. The second last one is I really loved Kaya from Crawdads. She was someone who was teased a lot and wasn't accepted into society, and she was kind of outcast. But she learned how to read. She became an expert in the field that she really loved, which was like botany and understanding birds and different kinds of fauna and flora of the marsh. And she was an expert, and she wrote these beautiful books. And I really love that she was just strong and independent, flying solo, even though it's kind of sad. I really love that about her, just strong, silent type. And finally, I just finished reading A Deadly Education. I really loved Elle. Like, she was super bitter and mean, and I feel like it's because the world around her showed her nothing besides what she reflected back to it. She was able to slowly kind of cultivate these friendships and relationships, even though she had been hurt so much in the past. And these friendships, I feel, are something that are true and honest, as opposed to the friendships that are built with other people in the school that she was in, that were based more so around where they came from or the affluence that they had surrounding them. She was building relationships based on herself and her own personality and the personality of the people that she was spending time with, and I think that's really cool. So the next question, the character that I like the least out of all the books I've read, and Bella Swan. I really don't know what else to say here, man. She's just a lot. She's too much for me. So my favorite book turned movie. Now this might be cheating because I'm doing it the opposite way and I haven't read the book yet, but I watched The Queen's Gambit and whoo smokes, it was really good. That final episode, I was like, girl, I want to play chess. I have never played a lick of chess in my life, but I loved this movie, or show. It's a show. 7 episodes. And what's even cooler about the show is it was filmed like 15 minutes from my house, so there's a lot of landmarks in the show that I recognize, which is so cool. But I have the book, I just got the book, and I plan on reading it. It's not a long book, but I'm really excited to get through that book and see what the similarities or the differences might be. So this might be a cheat question, but I really liked the show, and if the show is that good, then I'm only assuming that the book is going to be just as good. On the flip side of that, the book turned movie that I hated the most, and I think that I didn't hate the movie, but Ready Player One, I really enjoyed the book. It was something that was surprising to me because I'm not really into video gaming. I'm into that dystopian kind of like future kind of world, but I really didn't think that the book matched with the movie at all, really. Like, they had some similarities, but it wasn't really the same, and the movie was entertaining, but it wasn't really the book, and it was just a little disappointing to me because I wanted to see some more similarities or some more tie-ins, and it just didn't really happen, which is fine, but it just wasn't for me. So number 17, do I want to be an author? Like, that would be pretty cool. I have a university degree in fine art and English. A lot of the English that I took was like Canadian literature. I read a lot about like a lot of Thomas King work. If you've ever read his stuff, The Inconvenient Indian was really great. I don't know if I have the confidence to sit down and write something. I would really, really love to though, because I'm a very creative person, and I would love to tick that off my bucket list and just see if it's something that I'm even capable of. I have ideas. I am a vivid dreamer, and I've written down some dreams that I've had that I'm like, damn, that would make an amazing book. So the short answer is yes, I would really love to, but I'm on the fence a little bit because imposter syndrome. You know, if you feel me. Second last question, books that made me cry, and I have a few down here. The first one is the first book I showed you in this entire video, The Two Princesses of Bamar. Cried my eyes out because sisters, you know, I have two of them. She almost lost her sister in that book, and I was like, I couldn't imagine losing my sister. So I like 14-year-old me died that day, and then resurrected to read it again and die again. So that is the first book that I cried in. The second book that I cried in was The Lovely Bones. I read that pretty much when it first came out. I remember buying it at Costco. That was a long time ago. And I remember being so devastated because she was murdered, and like she didn't get the chance to live her life, and I thought like, wow, this could be anybody, you know, this could be me. I could not have the chance to live this life, and it just hit me in a way that I didn't honestly expect. It was the first kind of book that I read that was anything like that, and it was just emotional for me. The next one that I was emotional about was one I read in like grade maybe 10 or 11 history. It was Vimy by Pierre Burton, and this one was a recommendation actually from my dad. He's a huge historian and like World War II buff, and just for me, reading nonfiction about the war specifically, any war, I feel too much. I put myself in the position of these people, and it's gut-wrenching, and I hyperventilate, and it's hard to imagine that people were forced to go through these situations, and I cried like a baby during that book. There's so many good people that lost their lives and were forever changed because of it. It's really good. If you're someone who enjoys history, I highly recommend reading anything by Pierre Burton, really. The last one is recent, and it was Addie LaRue. I was so sad when she had to leave her partner. It was an amazing ending. Like, spoiler alert if you're watching this. But it was so sad. Like, I couldn't imagine. I have a boyfriend. We've been together for 6 years, and I couldn't imagine having to step away from him and just like finish off this battle of wits with the devil himself. And I just felt a lot, and it was really sad. So I had a couple solitary tears trailing down my face, which is great. I love feeling that with books. I don't typically feel that emotional with books. Yeah, that one just hit me like a freaking brick. And the last one that's on this list, about books at least, is am I a fast reader? And I said yes to my detriment, because I think that sometimes I try to read through books way too fast, and I miss parts. So I really enjoy when I really like a book or the plot of a book or the characters of a book. I'll always reread that book because I miss stuff. And it's because I'm so freaking impatient. I want to know what happens so badly that I'll just like fly through it. So yeah, I am a fast reader, and yeah, I am impatient. I'm a Sagittarius. Like, what can I say? So that is my intro to Booktube. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching if you are still around. So I have a feeling that nobody's going to be watching because I've literally told nobody that I'm on YouTube because it's kind of terrifying. So whatever. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's put a cat emoji down below if you made it all the way to the end. And if you really liked what you saw and you want to see more of my adventures through Booktube, please like and subscribe. I would love that so much. Have a lovely day. Mwah! And thanks for coming.